Battle of Stalingrad was the deadliest battle and the deadliest conflict of all time. And bringing it up leads to a morbid question. What happened to all those bodies? Between August 1942 and February 1943, the German 6th Army and other Axis-aligned divisions fought against the Red Army for control of Stalingrad. In the end, the Soviets crushed the Nazis and saved Stalingrad, which today is known as Volgograd. Both sides paid a terrible cost, however. The Russians suffered more than 1.1 million casualties, while an estimated 800,000 Axis troops perished, were wounded, went missing, or were captured. On top of this, around 40,000 civilians trapped in Stalingrad also died in the battle, which is today remembered as one of the deadliest in human history. The death toll was so high because both Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin gave orders to not retreat, forcing their armies to fight to the bitter end. Anatoly Kozlov, who had been a Russian tank commander, told CBC News in 2018, bombs would explode and there was no way of telling who the dead were. Journalist David M. Nichol, reporting for the Chicago Daily News in February 1943, said that the battle involved interior fighting, much of it at night, room to room, hallway to hallway. It left the city devastated, while the dead piled up. He wrote, "Frost-blackened corpses and the grotesque attitudes in which they fell or were pushed aside into some convenient trench seem a perfect natural accompaniment for this mad scene." Maria Rokhlina, who was a teenage Russian combat medic during the battle, recalled that the ground was too frozen to bury the dead that winter. She told National Geographic, "Corpses were piled up. There was no place to bury them." For the civilian population of Stalingrad, their daily lives during the months-long siege were nothing short of horrific. Bodies littered the streets and clogged up the Volga River, the only source of drinking water. People would be forced to push corpses aside, load up on water, and, if they were lucky, boil it before drinking. Konstantin Duvanov, a Russian soldier, later recalled,
"The bank of the river was covered in dead fish, mixed with human heads, arms, and legs, all lying on a beach."
Some residents resorted to subsisting on clay, but even then they had to be careful. Valentina Savalyeva, who was a child during the battle, remembered, "My mother would throw away the bits of clay that were soaked in blood and then take the rest and filter it through a piece of cloth." By December 1942, the German army was facing not just the Red Army, but hunger and the bitter Russian winter, so they weren't choosy about where they buried their fallen comrades. Henry Shapiro, a United Press reporter, noticed a number of mass graves had been dug in and around the city due to the large amount of casualties suffered on either side. At the beginning of February 1943, the Axis forces surrendered following a counteroffensive by the Red Army that had encircled opposing forces. In the aftermath of the battle, the Russians threw the unburied German dead into hastily constructed mass graves. Many of the Red Army dead also ended up in mass graves. Today, on the highest spot of the city, there stands a giant statue of a woman with a sword in one hand, her other arm outstretched. Underneath this 20-story tall monument, known as the Motherland Calls, lies the remains of 35,000 soldiers. Nearby, the Hall of Heroes commemorates the Russian casualties with an eternal flame and the names of more than 7,000 dead inscribed in stone. There was also a memorial dedicated to the unknown soldier, representing all those who died without being identified. The plaque reads, "Your name is unknown, your deed is immortal, eternal glory." Even today, the remains of soldiers from both the German and Russian armies continue to turn up. In 2018, Russian workers laying pipes in Volgograd discovered a grave containing more than 1,800 German soldiers and their horses. This was far from the first such find either. Searchers continue to locate several hundred bodies at the massive battle site each summer. They sometimes use metal detectors to try to find items that might have the soldier's name scratched on them. The hope is that this could aid in identifying the dead. One volunteer searcher said in 2018, "There are still a lot of relatives who have hoped to find their relatives, to know anything about where they died or how they died." Following excavations and possible identification, many of the remains end up at the nearby Rososhka military cemetery. There, both German and Russian war dead lay beneath the hollowed ground on which they once fought.